We are, you see, that's where we are. Okay, so on the couch, and the goal is just 30, 40 minutes, something like that. Nothing too major. There's nothing on TV anyway. Just to be able to talk about things that hopefully will make us all happier.
Last
And
time was a debate.
last
Last
time,
time we did it, there was a debate that night.
oh, there was a debate that
Yeah.
night. We know how that all worked out, or maybe we almost know how that all worked out. And so here we are once again trying to figure out another big question. We're not talking about gratitude. We will get back to that because there's much to talk about, even though it's Thanksgiving this week. But we wanted to discuss something else that I believe is equally as important. Now, I'm going to get started because she's going to be running most of this because I don't really know that much. I don't have that many friends, frankly, that many connections. I know a lot of people, but I don't know, whatever. We'll get to that a little bit later, my own issues. But I want to share with you one midrash. The midrash is beautiful. I've shared it before in shul, but it bears repetition. And the midrash goes as follows. Rabbi Yanai was out in the marketplace, and in the marketplace, he hears there's a big throng, and there's a guy yelling, "Who wants life? Who wants life?" And there's a person who he thinks is like a snake oil salesman selling an elixir of life. And he goes over and he wants to see what the whole commotion is about. And so he hears a person yelling, "Who wants life? Who wants life?" And there's like tons of people who are interested. And so Rabbi Yanai listens in and he goes over to the guy and he says, "So I want some. How much does it cost?" So the guy says, "No, Rabbi, you don't need this. You don't need this." And he says, "What do you mean I don't need this?" He says, here's what it is. Okay, here's what it is. I tell them the pasuk, "Mi ha'ish hechafetz chayim, ohev yamim liros tov, nitzar l'shoncha meira, usvasecha midaber mirma." And he says, this is what I tell people, and this is what I give them for the money that I charge, just this one pasuk. Who is the person who desires life? Ohev yamim liros tov, to enjoy themselves, to have a great life. So nitzar l'shon chameira, be careful how you speak, because how you speak and how you engage with other people obviously is critically important, and that is particularly important in maintaining relationships. And so Rabbi Yanai walks away, and although you might think that the guy is a snake oil salesman, he's just quoting a pasuk from Tehillim, and that's about it. Rabbi Yanai has this brand new recognition, and he tells the students, he says, "I never understood it before. I never understood this idea the way I understand it now." And so what I suggested in a drasha once upon a time was, what Rabbi Yanai figured out in that moment is how important people find human relationships. He realized that although this guy was just selling a pasuk, he was just selling one verse, he was selling the secret to happy lives. The secret to a happy life is being able to cement relationships, to be able to maintain friends, to not be badud and alone, and to not be have a sense of like distance from other people. And that's achieved by being careful how we speak. And so the throngs of people that are around this salesman inspired Rabbi Yanai to realize that, hey, this can be something that everybody can appreciate and everybody can love, because everybody needs this so desperately. So one of the things that have been on our minds, and after this, she does all the talking. That's how this works.
Not
That's
true.
how,
Not true.
that's how it's supposed to work.
Too
So
much pressure.
yeah, so what this is really, what made us think about talking about this topic is because really, like, it's getting cold, and all the fun that
And
we
we have
had,
this pandemic thing going on.
right, and because it's getting cold and this pandemic thing is going on, all of the opportunities that we had over the summer to get out there, walk around in the park, and frolic with a mask on, you remember what that was like, is getting harder. It's getting more difficult. And for a lot of people, they don't have that natural social environment that we usually do. And Malka's going to talk a little bit about what we.
No.
You're not okay. Fine. You're not going to talk about it. Fine. She's not going to talk at all. And so we wanted to talk about some ideas and some insights, perhaps, to brainstorm, maybe together, to try to figure out what we can do together, what we can do to make something that feels like together, and to create and to maximize the connections that we have. So we welcome you all the people who are here, and we're very excited. And maybe we'll put this on YouTube because it's fun to be on YouTube. And that's about it. So Malka, please.
No, it's interesting. I was actually thinking, the phrase, the expression, you could be lonely in a crowd. So you could be social in a pandemic. You could be lonely in a crowd. You could be social in a pandemic. There are ways to do it. But, I think we were thinking that, the pandemic, I think even just when it all started, was a challenge in a lot of ways to get our bearings, figure out how to connect, figure out how to be social. Maybe we've gotten into a groove with it. Maybe we haven't. But like Shmuel said, if we've gotten into a groove with it in the warm weather, everything is sort of changing now when we're heading into this winter. with uncertainty, not knowing how long it's going to last. We have little people waving at us because we made the mistake of saying it was going to be on the couch, and we have no couches behind closed doors in this house. So if I'm distracted, it's because I have little people here trying to distract me. Yeah, anyway, so I think we have to sort of now regroup and sort of think again about things, because we have this winter coming, and because the normal ways that we've socialized in parks or outside or outdoor dining, and the ways we've reached out and connected to people might not necessarily be as practical. And I think that a key element of being social, especially given what we're going through right now, is being intentionally social. We can't just sort of let it happen. Many of us are not going to work every day. We're not having the normal connections we have in the workplace or in Everfresh or in Shul. So we have to sort of really make sure to deliberately, make that a part of our life because of how important it is. So I just want to talk for a couple of minutes about how important it really is. You can jump in at any time, but I just want to.
I'm going to jump in right now. You know what I just found? There's a website where people can make quarantine buddies. You could like put in 5 of your interests. It's kind of like
we did that in Shul, kind of. We created a buddy system of people.
No. But I mean like random in the world buddies. QT something buddy, and it could be a total scam. I have no idea, but I think it was on Good Morning America. So I think that makes things real when it's on Good Morning America. And so there are all sorts of things that have crept up. But I guess we'll talk about the more practical things that you don't need a website for. Okay.
But before we get to the practical things, so last time we spoke about gratitude and how powerful a tool gratitude is for our sort of positive attitude and our mental health. So I just want to sort of illustrate the power of social relationships in our lives. And just to explain, by social relationships, I mean all sorts of social relationships, meaningful social relationships of any kind, which could be family members, it could be friends, it could be people on your outer peripheral circles, it could be people that you would schmooze with at the water cooler at work, although I know we don't have water coolers at work anymore in the same way. All those interactions could be meaningful in their own way and could all energize and have the power that social relationships do. So 2 really cool studies that I just want to mention. The first one was done by Seligman, who's like a major guy in positive psychology. And he did a study comparing very happy, he had a measure to measure very happy people, and unhappy people, and kind of see what the factors in their lives that were, that made them happy people or very happy people were. And the one and only factor that was sort of true across all the very happy people was meaningful social relationships. That's not enough necessarily to make you a happy person, but without that, you couldn't be, is the bottom line.
So we're not talking about social relationships like deep, meaningful friends. You're not talking about people you tell your secrets to. You're not talking about, let's say, people who are on that level. You just mean like interactions that
are meaningful in some way to you. So
it's good to see that person. It's like, it's just good. We catch up with each other. I'm not telling them my deepest. There was research done, right, about how many people have to share their secrets with. And like, we have very few. Most people, even in non-pandemic times, have like very few people that they can share their secrets with. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about social interaction, which maybe we've never even appreciated as much as we do now, which is, you would think in like the best of days, is relatively superficial. But it's not, right? I think that's the point.
Yeah, I think different relationships have different meaning for you. So they all create some sort of meaning, but having relationships with meaning is a necessary ingredient to being a happy person. And okay. Yeah. That answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that's study number 1 that I think is just really remarkable. You cannot be a happy person. And I always think about this. I had a conversation with somebody at my first job postgraduate school, which was many years ago. And I remember
not that many years ago.
Feels like a long time ago. We had this argument. He was this guy who was living alone and was trying to convince me that he does not need people in his life. And I remember very little from this job that I had, but this conversation stuck in my mind because I was so frustrated because I knew he couldn't be right. I knew it was impossible. There was some kind of defense there, and he was trying to prove to me that he doesn't need people, but I knew he had to need people. And now I feel validated, but I don't even remember his name. I just remember the conversation that I had with him.
He clearly didn't need you.
No. Maybe he's turned around and he's realized he needs people in his life. But I remember just feeling so frustrated because it couldn't possibly be true.
It was me.
Okay, but I want to talk about this other study, which is really, sorry, was I supposed to laugh? I missed it. I was on to the study.
She was muted. She was laughing. She just was muted.
Okay, so there's this really amazing study that actually was founded 75 years ago. It's on its fourth director of the study now. It's a longitudinal study that is still going on. The current director's name is Robert Waldinger, I believe. And what they did was they identified two groups of men. In total, they started with 724 men in this study. And they took two groups. One were Harvard students and one were inner city Boston kids, all the same age. They tried to match up as much as they could, but obviously the socioeconomic levels were very different. And they've tracked these men for 75 years. There are currently still 60 men in the study, and they're well into their 90s. And they've kind of every 2 years done a host of things. They've done surveys about their happiness. They've done medical tests. They've done scans. They've interviewed their kids. I think more recently started involving their wives. And they were trying to understand also it's happiness. What differentiates happiness from unhappiness, discontent in life. And they've asked them all at the very beginning of the study, what do you think would make you happy? You're this college kid who's about to embark on your life, or you're this, inner city kid who's about to embark on your life. What do you think will make you happy? And most of them, by and large, answered money, fame, success. None of that. I mean, it wasn't even like a significant number that thought about social relationships making them happy. But what they have found absolutely clear from this study, which is still going on today, is that the people that have meaningful social relationships, specifically, this kind of answers your question, at least one like very meaningful relationship in their life, they are happier and healthier. Their medical tests are better. They've lived longer. Their memories are sharper. It's not just about their mental health. It's also about their health that this meaningful social relationship sort of, protects them from. So I think it's remarkable. It's the results are really astounding. It's remarkable, and it's a really, really powerful thing.
So what do we do now?
Good question.
I find my students, so many of you know that I teach a class at YU. It's all on Zoom, and most of them are not on campus. And like a lot of them it was cool in the beginning, right? Like this whole thing was really cool. I could sleep late, I can get up, I could have my coffee, I could do class without pants on. I mean, that was a really attractive feature of this whole, pandemic thing, maybe the only attractive feature. But now it's kind of jumped the shark a little bit. I know a lot of my students who are this semester at home are dying to come back to campus. They're like, but most of their classes are online, but they'd rather be on their computer in their dorm room with people at least who they could hear down the hall, because all the dorm rooms are now separate, but they would rather that than what they have right now, which is sort of like, they're with their family, but their social engagements are so low. So we seem to be reaching a point where, yeah, friendship's really good, but now it's getting harder than ever. And a lot of the Band-Aids and the things that we were doing aren't working anymore. So like, what do you got, doctor?
So I think that they're not working as well as a natural social engagement would work, right?
I know the problem.
What do you think it is?
The problem, I mean, first of all, okay, so this guy is the problem. This mask, we're going to do a little exercise over here.
We can, but can we get to that in a minute? And I don't think that's entirely the problem, but maybe the exercise will prove who's right.
I'm gonna share with you the problem in a minute. Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
I don't want to like minimize other than the mask, but I think that there are things that you can do, even though people are zoomed out. And I know there's Zoom fatigue. There are still things you can do to connect, and it doesn't feel real and it doesn't feel authentic, but it's still,
feels somewhat two-dimensional.
Maybe that's preferable. So I think it's important to sort of keep those things in mind and do them even though they're second best. I actually had this past Thursday night, I had to get together with a group of friends from my year in Israel that we get together usually once or twice a year. And we had a Zoom get together at 8:30 on Thursday night. And it feels so silly, like we're having a Zoom get together, but we stayed on till 11 o'clock. And one of us actually put on, not me, put on a shaitel for it. And everyone's like, why'd you put your shaitel on? She's like, well, we're going out. So I put on my shaitel. But, you know, we sat there from 8:30 to 11, and one had recently redone her house. So she gave everyone a tour of her house, and we hung out on Zoom. And you've done that too.
The things people will do to show off their new house. It's unbelievable. No, so I did that too. I actually did it a couple of times. I had a friend just yesterday, lunch. He texts me randomly. He lives in Israel. He's 7 hours later. It's already evening. And he says, want to get on a Zoom? And I'm like, sure. And whenever I'm in Israel, I see this guy. Whenever he's here, he comes to see me. And we're just schmoozing. Now, it was like 2 p.m. here and 9 p.m. there. So he's sitting there with a glass of wine, and I'm sitting there with a glass of like Diet Coke. So it wasn't exactly the same experience. He was enjoying himself much more. But it was nice. It was great to see him, and we were able to shoot the breeze. And although like Zoom repetitively with the same people on the same classes in the same format gets a little bit, a bit much. But with new people and in different contexts, it sort of still works. I got together with a few rabbis. There are a lot of these like rabbi convocations that exist, like rabbis trying to counsel other rabbis, like, so how are you doing it? And how's the pandemic going? And a lot of this like the group therapy with rabbis. But I decided I had like 2 or 3 funny rabbis that I know. Funny for a rabbi. I don't mean like funny. I mean funny for a rabbi, And so I decided, guys, we're gonna hang out. And we got on Zoom one night, and they're not my closest friends, but we had a great time. We were just like schmoozing, and maybe I don't remember. It went late, and okay, we haven't done it.
You all had wine, I think.
We had a glass of wine, and not that the wine has anything to do with it, but yeah, I mean, sheesh, yeah, and so that was very nice. So creating those things, I find works. Creating their superficial and their not the type of thing that we would do otherwise, but because the crowd is different. And it's somebody who you still desire to be with, like it was in the beginning in March and April. It was like we all wanted to be together on Zoom, and that was still cool. So like maybe it's less cool. We want to be together, but when you bring new people into the mix, Zoom is still interesting. I did wear a shaitel. Someone asked on the comments. I wore a shaitel. I put it on, and that actually made things a lot more fun. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I think the key is being intentional and deliberate and recognizing that it's a void that we have in our lives that we do have to fill. So whatever our way is of filling it, whether it's arranging a Zoom or going on a walk with a friend, or if it's a warm day, seizing the moment and doing an outdoor eating, whatever it is, don't just let like one day after the other go by and not fill the void that's usually a little more naturally filled. Decide with a friend that you're both going to read the same book and then discuss it. Call in a family member that you haven't spoken to in a long time. I mean, these are obvious, but just being deliberate and intentional about making sure that this still exists in your life, I think is really the key in whatever way.
So I think I made a mistake with this. I sit in my office all day in shul, and I thought that would be the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, I have all this time to do all this stuff. And I find myself like by 2 p.m., I can't wait till mincha. So I get to see 9 other people. It's like, it's just too much. It's just too much. And can we get to my problem?
Yeah, what's your problem?
My problem with the masks. So here's the thing. It used to be that like you'd walk down the street and you would sort of get this sense of like, hey, how are you? And most of us would ignore most people. That's kind of the way it works. But it was, okay, there was another human being there. And then maybe somebody would do something funny or cute in like the store, or their kid would do something, you'd share that little chuckle together. But I find that these things, here, let's do it. These things take away, can you hear me? You see, that's the thing. You can barely hear me. They take away a lot of what was this normal reaction that we had to each other. So for example, like, you get in line, you go to Dunkin' Donuts. So let's imagine you get in line and you didn't use the app, okay? So you get in line, and first of all, nobody even knows what a line is. What's a line? Because there's social distancing, and you find yourself getting cursed out all day because, I'm in line. This doesn't look like a line. Like, I don't know, it's social distance. And so you get yourself into trouble, and then you see people, but you don't really see people. And I don't know if you see me or hear me, but you don't see people. Meaning you don't see what is their pun in their face. I was at a funeral this week, and and a person who was speaking, he said, and this was so fascinating, he took off his mask. So some people take off their mask because it's really hard to speak with a mask on if you're not a rabbi and you're used to it already and you're used to eating whatever this fabric is. But if you're a regular person, you take it off. But he said, no, the reason I want to take it off is because Chazal say that we express ourselves through our face. And in this moment, I'm speaking about my father, he said, I want to be able to express myself fully. That's the explanation he gave. And so like there's so much to the fact that I can't read people the way I used to. And so I wanted to do an exercise. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I do find that I think I'm getting much better at reading eyes. You know, like when you're like one of your senses is not working as well, your other senses get stronger.
So can I complain about something? Because like during the summer, she was wearing a mask and sunglasses a lot.
Yeah, that's
Miss,
bad.
I can read eyes. Like I don't know what's going on. It's like you're in witness protection. I have no idea who you are or what.
And they get foggy. So
and they get the fog is a whole other issue, and that's going to be the next billionaire. Just like Facebook and Elon Musk is working on the next. How to unfog your glasses right before we get to Mars. They say Mars has a big glasses fogging problem. Okay, so there are like, what is it, 6 or 7 major emotions. The basic emotions: joy, surprise, sadness, anger, fear, contentment, and contempt, and disgust. Okay, so we're going to do a test. We're going to do a test here. And so like, I'm going to get a little closer to the camera. Okay, don't mind me. I'm a little bit too comfortable.
Are you testing me or them?
I'm testing. Oh, that's a good
idea. I don't know.
Idea.
We didn't actually plan. I mean, we talked about it, but
no. So it's a good idea. I'm going to do a facial emotion. Okay, through my mask, and you're going to tell me. You could put it into the comments, or I don't know, something, and you'll tell me what I'm doing. Okay, so
they're all muted, so they have to put in the comments.
Yeah, you could put it in the comments. Otherwise, you're going to yell, and someone's going to yell contempt, and I'm going to not know that you're talking about me. It's going to get weird. So you can put it in the comments or whatever. So ready? Okay, I'm going to turn to you so you could try, because you know me maybe the best.
Should you take your glasses off?
No, because what do you mean?
Your eyes are important to see.
I know, but like this is all they get if they see me in Duncan. Okay, so ready? Let me just decide. Like,
should I say it? Should I give them a chance?
Give them a chance.
David Basalali thinks he's funny and said contempt.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
No, I got it. I knocked out the charger.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. That was surprise.
That was nice.
I started with the easy one. Very good. Okay. So ready? Now we're gonna get a little bit more nuanced. I hope you're all ready. Should I pick? Is there a better facial expression mask? Maybe they should make a mask.
They do make them. They do make
emojis.
Well, they make masks with clear mouths so that, especially when you're working with kids. I have to say, one of the big challenges I find reading other people's expressions, I don't think I'm having such a hard time with. We'll find out, but not smiling at people, like not having the ability to smile at people, and for people not being sure that people know that I'm smiling at them. Like that's something.
I actually find it good that people don't know that I'm smiling at them. Is that bad? Is that a bad thing? It's like I'm laughing at something that I heard. Oh, yeah, and they don't realize it. I thought that was good. Okay, fine. So maybe there are some positives. Maybe. Okay, so let's try another one. Ready? Okay. This is a lot of nuance. It's hard. Oh.
Questioning is a feeling. I mean,
some people think I'm confused.
Are you sad?
I was being sad.
I was being sad.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. I'm better now. So this is like, I find that when you see people like, so I'm at shul and they're no stress, the preschool, and I see teachers, when you like walk by someone, it's different with a mask. When you walk by somebody in the street, there's a whole other issue because like they're trying to walk away from you, and there's all of that awkwardness of, hey, I don't think we're far enough apart. So there's that. But even when you walk by people who are not concerned about that, I find the mask is like, it creates this completely superficial human barrier, which
I think it makes everything, you have to just, it's so much more of an effort to socialize. You know, you have to talk louder, you have to listen harder. You don't have the facial expression.
I'm very inspired by those in shul who are bypassing social distancing, of course, only few and far in between and infrequently, to get up into somebody's face with a mask on to talk during davening. I'm very inspired by that, by the socialization, and we should do another session on that.
It's almost not worth it. And
Yeah.
at weddings, not that there are that many weddings these days, but then you have the music and the masks and the distancing, and like, how in the world are you supposed to have a conversation with somebody? It's like really almost not worth it. But it is worth it. That's
Right,
the point of
right.
tonight. It is worth it, and make sure that you do it in whatever way you can, because it is worth it.
So what should we do to socialize?
So, like we mentioned a few ideas before, we're happy to take suggestions from the group. And I think what works for one person may not work for the next person. But like I keep saying, the important thing is, I think, just to make sure that you make it part of your routine. You're intentional about it, deliberate about it. Don't let the week go by and realize, like,
Don't think it's cool to spend a lot of time alone, because you'll get a lot of stuff done, because it's not so
or
healthy.
to just be more passive about it and not actively make sure it's a part of your life. And whoever's in your household could also obviously be a part of this, right? Some people have busier households than other people, but doing something with people in your household that you don't ordinarily do, like, it's not just the routine of, dinner and dishes and whatever, but you might decide to do something different with the people that you see every day. That could also fill the void. If it's starting to go for walks every day, if it's developing a hobby together, or starting to do puzzles together. This could I could be referring to one of your kids, or to your spouse, or to anybody in your household. Those kinds of things. I actually mentioned the other day at the table, I mentioned, who wants to take a hike with me on Thanksgiving morning? There was a hike I wanted to do.
Most of us rolled our eyes. I'll be
Mostly
honest.
rolled their eyes. Shockingly, my daughter, who's usually very anti-hikes, like, I'll do that. She probably hears me.
Yeah. But it's true. She's anti-hacks.
So I was like, wow, that's great.
It worked. So let me ask you
yeah.
something. Social media, does that fill this hole and this gap? Because I have a theory. I happen to think that, like, regular social media, which now they call doom scrolling, when you're going through social media and just reading articles and posts that get you upset and annoyed and mad, and comments that just infuriate you, or maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who has that experience, but that does not make me happier. And as I wrote in the drasha a few weeks ago, that actually I gave it up. It's off my phone. Facebook is off my phone, and like I can't do that anymore. Maybe I'll bring it back someday, but it was not working for me. But the one thing that I miss about social media, and a guy who works for Facebook, who actually davens in the shul, was explaining to me that Facebook is pushing people in this direction, and hopefully they realize that they're being pushed, but is to Facebook groups. And what Facebook groups was like a group of people who are literally just busy with something that was interesting to me. And so, like, there was one Facebook group that I actually missed. It was called Makoros, where, let's say, somebody who's teaching or learning or researching something on a Torah topic would say, does anybody have something on this topic? And so, like, I might or might not, but hey, that's a great topic and that's fascinating. And people will be dropping Makoros and sources, and I'm like, oh, that's going to make a great share someday. So,
but that's not social.
That's not social.
That's informative. That's helping you be more productive.
There were conversations that happened maybe like on the side, and
my personal opinion is that social media and chats do something for many people, but I don't think it fills that meaningful relationship like criteria. That's just my opinion.
Is that because we're not like fully real?
I mean, it could be a lot of things. And I think some people are fully real, but I don't think it's meaningful enough. I don't think it's interactive enough. It might not be authentic enough. It's also often in a large group, right, where it's not necessarily a one-on-one type of, relationship. So I think it's, for you, Facebook, you didn't think it was doing anything so great, but for some people it does. They enjoy it, but I just don't think it's the same thing. I don't think it fills that void. And I don't think anybody should think that if they're sort of, interactive on a chat, that's like filling the void of what we're talking about tonight.
So that reminds me of something I just found, and we're almost, I don't want to take too many people's time. I don't want to take up your time, because I'm sure you're going to like run off here and like go get on Zoom with some friends and have a great time. But I noticed like the following crazy thing some years ago. So how would you define the word friend, right? How would you define the word friend?
A friend is somebody who you have a long-term meaningful relationship with.
That was pretty good. So let me tell you how they define friend in 1936. The Webster's Universal Unabridged Dictionary. Friend, ready? One who is attached to another by affection, or who entertains for another sentiments of esteem and respect, which lead him to desire his company and to seek to promote his happiness and prosperity. That's a friend in 1936. Fast forward to 1983, Webster's Universal Unabridged Dictionary. A friend is a person who one knows well and is fond of. That's it. So I don't know if like they need to save words in the dictionary or the definition fundamentally changed, but nowadays the word kind of means nothing, right? Facebook. Hey, that's a person who looks mildly attractive. Okay, that's it. That's a friend, or that's a person who I never kind of met, but they friended me. It's rude for me to not friend back. A friend has become like a verb, but it's lost a lot of its meaning over the course of time. And maybe I guess the point is if we appreciate what those relationships and what their value is for us, we will attempt to integrate that into actively, like it's not a thing you have or you don't have, it's a thing that we must engage with.
We must pursue.
Yeah.
What is that? Aseh lecha chaver, right?
Knei lecha chaver.
Aseh lecha rav, knei lecha chaver, right? Actively, actively.
You got to be willing to pay. It's going to cost. Knei lecha chaver, you got to acquire a friend. Yeah. It's an acquisition. It's something that costs, but it's something that we need to be engaged in. Okay. Any questions? Any great ideas?
Or comments or ideas?
Yeah. Did anybody do something really cool? Like, I don't know, have some sort of socially distant ring around the rosy with their friends or something, like, I don't know, something. No.
Ring around the rosy with pool noodles.
Yeah, with pool noodles and with ropes or something. I don't know if anybody has a great idea. We'd love to hear it because everybody's struggling with this. I mentioned this before while you're typing your glorious comments. I've mentioned this before, but like one of the hardest things about shul and events is how do we do things that are fun and interesting that only have 10 people there? Because like when there are 50 people there, you got to start mandatory muting. And nobody likes that. But, it always happens that you just need that. So how do you do things for only 5, 10, 15 people and have a good time with such a small group and have a meaningful experience and not exclude people? So, that's a good idea. Somebody put up garage get-togethers. Just make sure the garage door is open and the car is not on, because that's a whole different kind of get-together. And, if the car, okay, let's avoid talking about that. Okay. A tour of Central Park. You can get a tour of Central Park. That's great.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's cool.
I was in Central Park over Sukkot. I could not believe how many people were out and about in Central Park, all masked. But you were there too. It was happening.
I was there, and it started to rain, and they stayed.
A backyard salon with 10 women throughout the summer.
That sounds very sophisticated.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, what else? Like I've been, trying to do lunch outdoors. Like we're running out of outdoor places. Does anybody know a place in Great Neck to do an outdoor lunch? Like today, I was looking for a place and nobody. I kept calling a few people.
Yeah, the one on the corner.
Crawford's. Crawford still has outdoors.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's kind of what we have to think. We have to think of these ideas together. And if you have great ideas, please share. Don't worry. We're not gonna crowd you out. That's going to be the challenge, I think, this winter, trying to make these indoor yet meaningful relationships. Technology is not bad. It's not the same. But as long as we realize that with new people, old technology feels a little bit new, I think we'll be able to do something
and
meaningful.
Just accept that it might be second best, but it's important anyway.
Yeah, it's important anyway. Yeah. You get what you get and you don't get upset. And hopefully we'll be through this. We'll be on the other side of this really soon. And that would be amazing. And we'll be talking in shul again, and we'll be having kiddush again, and like gaining weight, like, and doing all of those totally destructive.
I'm doing okay in the gaining weight
together. We'll be doing those things together. So I look forward to that. So listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Poker game.
Poker game moved online. So, and I still wasn't invited. I'm just saying. I mean, okay. Nobody wants to take my money. That's the story. So these are all great ideas. And if anybody, keep them coming.
And keep thinking about them. Keep thinking about it.
Yeah, let's get innovative. Let's put our brains together and figure out how we can have experiences together that will accumulate into meaningful relationships. All right, guys, it's great to see you all just doing this. And one thing before you go, starting next week, there's this incredible Tuesday night thing, which is going to be going on for 4 weeks. It's Erica Brown. Erica Brown has been in the shul, and she is a phenomenal teacher. She is a phenomenal teacher, and she's going to be talking about leadership. Now, leadership means a lot of things. Leadership, especially these days, we're reminded how leaders don't really matter until they really matter. And having good, strong, and leaders who are inclusive, who get people to buy in, and are able to encourage people and to make the greatest lives that they can. That's a really important thing. So what she's going to be doing is a 4-part series on leadership, and that starts next Tuesday, and it goes for 4 Tuesdays. We're joining together with 2 other
But
shuls.
anybody is a leader, correct?
Yeah, everybody's a leader. I mean, I think, yeah, technically you could be a leader in an organization, have a formal role, but no way. Leaders are
Everyday
leaders.
leaders.
Yeah, everyday leaders. Every group has the person who got the group together. Every salon, every backyard salon has that person who, salon. It's going to be 8 p.m. Tuesday night. So it's on the shul emails. If anybody doesn't get those, let me know. Let me know if you'd like to join, because there is a bit of a cap. We're joining together with 2 other shuls, because that's the good part of Zoom. That's the good part of you can share resources. And so we and the Young Israel of Scarsdale and Eitz Chaim of Livingston, these are the 2 colleagues of mine who I was on that Zoom late at night with. 2 funny rabbis. And so we're getting together to do this program because we thought it would be beneficial for all our people. So for the next 4 Tuesday nights, you got plans. You have plans. And so if you'd like to join, let us know, or let me know in particular. Send me an email, and I'd love to include you. Okay, thanks for joining. Anything else?
Thanks, everyone. Great to see everybody.
Yeah, it is so great to see everyone. And we look forward to seeing you all in normal times and in better times and in together times. Have a good night.